All right, let's talk about OpenAI's groundbreaking new model, GPT-5. Now, you might have seen all the hype, but here's the thing. It's not just about more power. The real story, the big deal, is that this is a complete rethink of how an AI, well, thinks.
So, to really get what's going on, you have to start with this one question. What if an AI could actually manage itself? What if it knew on its own whether you needed a quick, snappy answer or something that required some real deep thought? Because that single idea, that's the key to everything that makes GPT-5 so different.
And that's why we're calling this a whole new era for AI. We're not just talking about a small step up. No, this is about the system being way smarter and, more importantly, way more adaptable in how it actually works.
Okay, so here's the biggest change for you, the user. Gone are the days of having to pick between a fast, simple model and a super powerful but kind of slow one. GPT-5 is just one system, a single, unified model that looks at what you're asking and just figures it out. It literally thinks on its feet.
So how in the world does it do that? Well, the secret sauce is something OpenAI is calling the real-time router. And the best way to think about it is like this. It's one model, but with two brains. You've got a fast brain and a deep thinking brain, and it has the wisdom to know exactly which one to use and when.
So what is this real-time router, really? At its heart, it's like an incredibly smart traffic cop for your questions. Ask it for something simple, say a quick summary, and boom, it sends your request to a super fast, lightweight model. But if you ask it to think hard, or you give it a really tough problem to solve, it knows to reroute that query to a much, much deeper, more powerful reasoning engine.
The whole process is actually pretty straightforward, but it's incredibly powerful. So your query comes in. Instantly, the router analyzes it. How complex is this thing? And then it makes the call. Do we need speed or do we need power? And the best part? This all happens completely seamlessly in the background. You don't have to do a thing. It's just optimizing every single interaction.
Okay, so that's the how. That's the theory. But what can this thing actually do? Well, this is where it gets really interesting because the performance gains are just staggering, especially in a few key areas.
For anyone who codes, this is an absolute game changer. I mean, we're way beyond just spitting out a few lines of code here. Now, it can generate a fully polished, working user interface from just a simple description. The fact that we're talking about an AI being aesthetically aware, that's just mind-blowing. And get this, it can debug an entire complex repository from a single prompt. That could fundamentally change how we build software.
And it's not just code. The writing ability has become so much more sophisticated. It's not just a text generator anymore. It's a real creative partner. Just imagine you're writing a novel. You could have an AI that doesn't just understand complex literary structures, but can actually maintain a character's unique voice and style over hundreds of pages. That's the kind of consistency we're talking about now. Now, let's talk about a really critical field, health. Here, the AI isn't just acting like a superpowered search engine anymore, it's becoming an active research partner. It's not just pulling up data for you, it's actively flagging potential concerns in that data. And maybe most importantly, it prompts you with smart follow-up questions, the kind of questions that could push researchers toward breakthroughs they might have otherwise missed. And look, these aren't just some vague claims. The numbers absolutely back this up. When you look at the standardized industry benchmarks, the performance is just wow. A 94.6% on a 2025 level advanced math test? Seriously? And almost 75% on a coding benchmark that's known for being incredibly difficult? These aren't just small improvements. These scores are putting this AI at an expert human level across multiple fields.
Okay, so with all this insane new power, how do developers actually get their hands on it and use it? Well, OpenAI has clearly been thinking about this. They've rolled out a whole new toolkit that's all about giving builders more power, more control, and, importantly, better ways to manage costs.
If you're a developer, you remember the old way, right? You had to juggle a bunch of different models, different APIs depending on what you needed. Well, that's gone. Now there's just one single streamlined API. You can call the tiny nano version for something super fast and cheap, or you can unleash the full beast of GPT-5 when you really need the power, all without changing your core code. It's all about giving you the perfect tool for the job, every single time.
And this is where it gets really, really cool for developers.
You can literally tell the model how to think. You can control its effort. So say you're doing a complex legal analysis, you might crank the reasoning effort all the way up to maximal. But if you just need a quick chatbot response, you'd set the verbosity to low for a short, punchy answer. This level of granular control over the AI's actual thought process, that's a massive leap forward for anyone building with this stuff.
Okay, so we've been getting into some technical weeds here. Why does any of this matter to the rest of us? Well, it matters because all these improvements are what make GPT-5 truly ready for the real world. They make it safer, more reliable, and genuinely enterprise-ready.
And this isn't just theory. We're already seeing major players trust it. I'm talking about heavy hitters in finance, design, and biotech, companies like Morgan Stanley, Figma, and Amgen. They've been early adopters, and what's the feedback? They're talking about increased trust, higher accuracy, and just plain better quality outputs. This thing is already being battle-tested in really critical industries, and it's proving its worth.
OpenAI is also being very public about tackling safety head-on. There's a huge push to reduce what they call hallucinations. That's when an AI just kind of makes stuff up. At the same time, they've designed it to be less of a sycophant. It's not just going to agree with you to be pleasing. The goal here is an AI that's more truthful, more reliably honest, even if it's telling you something you might not want to hear.
When you boil it all down, a line from OpenAI's own announcement really says it best. GPT-5 isn't just another incremental upgrade, it's a smarter, more adaptable, and more useful AI. And yeah, that just perfectly captures the huge shift we've been talking about.
So, here we are. We're left with an AI that's not just more powerful, but fundamentally smarter, more adaptable, and safer. It is, without a doubt, the most capable AI ever released to the public. And that brings us to the final and maybe the most important question of all. Now that the technology is here, are we ready for what comes next?